Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. I bet you didn't expect to see me here on a Sunday morning, bright and early, and still happily married. That was probably because yesterday me and Leah did a special event, and we had a wonderful day yesterday, and I'm in our good books at the moment, which is nice. Yesterday we were doing an event at the local Methodist church, a fundraiser, and it was a Barbie special, 65 years of Barbie, and I did a special fundraising event, and it led on to a special event that you all have been invited to this Thursday, of course, on the music channel. You've probably received that information, and if you are a member, you know all about it. You've seen the information, so join me on Thursday for a after hours 5 p.m. Central special event, birthday party for Erin. Who's Erin? You'll find out all about Erin on Thursday. But right now, though, it's a very early morning here on a Sunday in the United States. It's in the afternoon for Andy, and I apologise for being a few minutes late this morning because me and Andy were chatting at 6 a.m. my time, and my eyes are a bit blurry at that time of the morning, and in the message it was 3:30. Which means 3:30, right? Which is in 15 minutes. But of course, at 6 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday night after a gig, your eyes are blurry. And I thought he said 3 to 3:30. So Andy is still eating his lunch at the moment, but did agree to come on early for us and talk to us about his view and opinion on Virgin Galactic. Now, since I spoke to Andy, of course, a few days ago, it wasn't that long ago, actually, he's becoming a regular on our show. A few days ago, he called in, of course, and we were talking about the stock under $1, how he felt. And you may remember he said he would consider, maybe, perhaps, if he felt right, maybe buy some more. And we talked about that. But since then, of course, we've now got the new news that we have a vote coming up in July for a reverse split. And a lot of people are very angry about that. They feel that Virgin Galactic has given up already. It only was under $1 for a few days, and they already announced that in a couple of months we're having a vote. Also, to worth note, by the way, that we'll be voting on their compensation. A lot of people are very unhappy about that, particularly as there's evidence to suggest that Michael Cole-Glazier has been getting rid of his shares, passing over to his son. I've not seen verification of that, but I've been told by reliable sources that has been happening. But as I repeat, I have not verified that myself. Whether that's important or not, you decide. But today we're going to be talking to Andy Shovel. As you all know, he's one of our friends of the family here, and he's a relatively large retail investor, a decent amount of shares in Virgin Galactic. Is he going to buy more? Well, we found the other day, potentially. Now, what is he going to do with the reverse split? So, welcome back on the show. Give a warm welcome in the chat. You can ask questions to Andy today. It is members only, so please fire away your questions. And welcome back to the show, Andy Shovel. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Hello, afternoon for me. Good to see you again. Sorry in advance to your viewers if I take the odd bite of my lunch.
I was just explaining. That's fine. Don't worry about that.
Great. Thanks a lot. And I was most surprised, much more surprising than Virgin Galactic share movements, is that your wife is happy with you after all this work on the channel when you're like 24/7. Well, I don't understand how that's possible. I've learned as I get older, and I'm sure, Andy, you've probably started to learn this. You're a married man. You're a married man, aren't you? Yeah, I'm not. I'm with girlfriend, but with
girlfriend, right? Well, here's a little tip, right, from an older man, right? Happy is a phrase in America. It's called happy wife, happy life, and that is so true. It's not about being right. It's knowing how to manage. I'm picking my words carefully because my wife isn't too far away, but always offer love and support and understand that men and women are very different. We might want to go 24 hours a day in our little dungeon on YouTube and think that's fine. your wife doesn't feel quite the same way about it, as most wives don't appreciate our Virgin Galactic. Why do you keep buying shares in that? I want a new holiday. I want a new pair of shoes. They would regard that as a much better investment. Anyway, maybe it would be right now. But anyway, Andy, she's okay. I got round it this morning. I'll be making her a cup of tea in a minute and making up even more. But anyway, Andy, we've got you on the show, and thank you for taking up your Sunday. We've only got about 15 minutes, guys, so we're going to get straight down to it. Since we last spoke, Andy, Virgin Galactic announcing a reverse split without it only being under $1 for a couple of days, and boom, it's as if it was already prepared. Again, backing up what I've always said, they want the share price to go down. I know you say, why would they? But hey, what do you think? What's your thoughts today, Andy? How do you feel as a major shareholder?
So I think it's a predictable move in the sense that the paperwork can take a while to get the reverse split approved. So it makes sense to me that they would do it pretty much immediately after the share dips below zero, especially because there's been below $1, especially because there's been a downward trajectory, right, since beginning of the year. So I don't think that's shocking news. I don't think it's necessarily giving up early, because you've got to get your application in good time in order to make sure that you don't miss the opportunity. Because obviously, if it bumps below zero for below $1 for 30 consecutive days, then it can be at risk of being delisted. Although they can then apply for 180-day extension. So I think they're doing, to be honest, the right thing. I don't want to come on your show in your backyard and disagree with you. But
hey, please do. That's what this is about, right?
Well, it would be boring if everyone just parroted what you said. But then, since I have license to gently disagree, I would say, with regards to the fact that the share price is low and what you've said about them wanting it to be low, I have to politely disagree, because the way that option schemes will be granted in their company will be probably quite conventional, insofar as it's not based on like the share price, so you get more options. The share price is cheaper.
Sensei Crypto Clips has become a member. Andy is my favorite guest of the show. Andy is always cool-minded and brings a sense of calm to the stock. So glad he is a friend of the channel.
Oh, that's very kind. That's so lovely. Thanks, Sensei.
How about that? I was going to mute that, but I thought, no, I'll let it play over. Sorry, it's over your head, but it was worth having, right?
No, it was really, really kind feedback. Thanks. But what I was going to say is the way that the option scheme will be granted to employees is not linked to share price, i.e. it's variable. They'll get more shares if the share price is lower. The share agreements that employees will have in place will probably be set years in advance. So they don't, it's not dynamic. They won't suddenly be like, oh, you better get more shares, person X, because the price has gone down. So I don't think they will be incentivized, from the management down to the people working in the warehouse. They won't be incentivized by a lower share price, because the number of shares will be the variable, not the price of the shares. Affecting the number of shares, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think you joined the company in 2019. You then will probably have a share vesting schedule that will probably last 4 or 5 years, and that will be, I don't know, 50,000 shares, 20,000 shares, and that won't suddenly change and work in your favor when the share price goes down. If anything, the employees probably want the share price to go up so that they have an on paper net worth which is higher, right? So that's how I sort of gently disagree on that front. I don't think anyone in that company wants the share price to be low, personally, and I can't conceive of a reason why they would. Okay. But look, it's, horses for courses, and we can all have different views on these things. But yeah, that's what I think about that. And clearly, I won't come on here and be like the captain that goes down with the ship. Not that I'm the captain of anything, but I do think, I'm not going to come on here and pretend that the company's in a great place. But there's lots to counterbalance the negative sentiments as well. There's lots of good stuff which we can talk about.
Yeah, there most certainly is. No, my main problem, and it was the problem of others, was if they do reverse split, there's a chance then the stock price will appear to go up. Of course, no one actually gains anything. We all know how that works. But then it will many of my viewers, Mark Saxby is one here now phoning in, and he says, they'll probably dilute again. They'll take more money from the shareholders, and that concerns people. And I agree what you're saying. It takes time for these things to go through. So they knew the price was going to go down. We all accept that Virgin Galactic is going to go sleep for a while because of Delta. We all agree on that. But where we not necessarily disagree, but where I see it differently perhaps is all they've got to do is do a flight and then and put a celebrity on it. I know they keep going around this point, but it works for other brands. And I just think, to just constantly let the stock price go down without any effort to promote it. And as you have said, it's so undervalued now. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like if I said to you, Andy, will you give me $5 for $10 in cash? You go, well, yeah, of course I will. But why is nobody buying it then? That's what really worries people. It's like, why is someone, and why, I mean, and I know we've said before, Richard Branson can't afford it anymore. He's lost a lot of money during COVID, Virgin, and all the rest of it. But it's going for a song right now. You'd think somebody would just roll in on their white horse and buy it for where it is, knowing that the cash is on the books, but no one is.
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at the buying activity. So I'll have to just take your word at value there, which I'm sure would be the case. I think the explanation for that is it's super risky, and the stock has always been a risky stock, because when you send people up to space in a totally new kind of vehicle, or any kind of vehicle, people can die. And I think in companies like Virgin Galactic, if people die, it's probably game over. So
Absolutely.
there's one very existential risk. There's another sort of added factor of risk at the moment, which is the Boeing lawsuit. And that could present quite a serious risk increase to the company's overall risk profile, because the argument is only over about $26 million, I believe, which Boeing claim they're owed and Virgin say that they shouldn't owe it. But now that they've gone down this route of fighting it, which is kind of fair enough if they believe they're right, if they lose Virgin, then they will have to pay legal costs from both sides. They will have to pay damages. They'll have to pay court fees. They'll have to pay the original $25 million. In my opinion, having flirted with the odd lawsuit at my work and tried to avoid it at all costs, I would say that they could be staring down the barrel of $100 million if they lose, is my guess. That will be a big problem for them, because they'll have to raise.
And they're likely to lose, aren't they, against Boeing? If you had to put odds on it, if you were a betting man and you sat them both down in court, who would win that argument?
I mean, yeah. The thing I've learned as I've gotten older and uglier is like, when you go to court against someone, it really isn't always who's right and who's wrong. That's more criminal. When you are talking about civil lawsuits, it's actually who's got the bigger wallet a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which is really brutal for us to accept, but that is the reality. And so therefore, I think you're right. In this case, if I had a sort of gut feel test, it would probably be that Boeing would wipe the floor with them, because they have such endless resources. I know they're having a tough time, but like we said last time on your show, they've still got plenty of money to mess around in court with their startup.
Yeah. One interesting point you mentioned there about risk, and you talked about, it's a difficult market as well right now. Macro conditions, what's going on in the Middle East, and all these other things. Interest rates now expected to be kept up for longer. That would impact Virgin Galactic as well. So all of these things are risk and so on. But one thing I've learned, and I study everything. I read everything, and I poll my audience every day. They get sick of the polls. I do like sometimes 3 polls a day in my X account. I'm polling the audience, and they don't realize actually, or maybe they do. I'm learning by sentiment all of the time of what people feel. It's why I exist on StockTwits and Reddit, but I never comment on Reddit. Reddit's a very toxic environment, but it does allow me to sit in the background and see what the negative sentiment is. short interest, the way people manipulate stocks, say one thing, do another. It's not a very pleasant place to be. And I often get, all kinds of slander and shouting and screaming at me, and not very nice stuff. But I'm there lurking in the back. I never comment. They never know I'm there. But I'm always listening and watching what's going on. And same with the stock twits. That's very manipulated as well. And one thing I have learned from investing, and I haven't just been doing it for 3 years, I did it years ago when I was trading with Barclays, like 20 years ago, is all through history, and we have to look at history really, and look at human sentiment and greed and the way humans behave, and that's really 90% of this is human behavior, human reaction and emotion to the stock market. It's not always just the fundamentals, it's what people do can create the destiny of any stock, to be honest. But one thing I've noticed, and I've studied a lot since the beginning of time, going right back to the days of Henry VIII, for God's sake, going back to the beginning when we used to trade, in fact, before then, there's always been one thing that's always been there. People's emotions and fear and manipulation, that's always been the same, and that always will be, because we're human beings. Why would aliens land on Earth with us? You know what I'm saying? We're a flawed species, let's put it that way. Anyway, consequently, if you like a business, you like the fundamentals of the business. We all know, and Warren Buffett has preached it a million times, and the greatest traders of our time, and investors rather, I should say that. So if you like what you like and it's got cheaper, you buy more. It's a no-brainer. It hasn't changed. Virgin Galactic's business model hasn't changed. The fundamentals hasn't changed. They've got some issues as life, but that's all part of life. But the issues hasn't changed. And when I actually ask the audience about certain things, like, have you bought the dip on this? Everyone talks about buy the dip, but actually very few people actually do it. They get scared and they run off and they go, I'm done with this now. I've just been polling the audience now for a few weeks about Virgin Galactic and the war. A couple of days ago, I bought the dip. Overnight, there was about an hour we were allowed to trade before Robinhood turned it off, because, they have to do a circuit breaker. Otherwise, it's like a bank run everyone sells when they announce there's a war going to start. And it was going down. The S&P was dropping really quickly, and Robinhood stopped trading, which is just like bringing the doors down on a bank. Otherwise you've bank run, right? No money to pay anybody. But I jumped in there quickly, and I bought, I think, nearly a 4% dip on the S&P in minutes, which is great. I haven't sold it. I never sell. I just keep adding and adding, right? And I polled the audience, and in several different ways, and very few people actually did, because now they're fearing a war, which is, when people talk about buying the dip, but when it comes, they get scared, and many of our investors have actually sold out of Virgin Galactic now, rather than buying the dips. I can't do it anymore. I've had enough now. It's gone too low. And I always say that you should always be able, if you've got an allocation of whatever it might be, $1 million, $100, whatever it is, you've always got something left to buy another dip. You don't go all in at 1% and now it's gone down 5% and now I haven't got any more money. I've even turned my margin on, and that's fine. I calculated the cost of margin, and I bought the dip. And if we wake up tomorrow morning, the S&P is down 5%, I'm going to buy another chunk of the S&P. And I keep doing that. And in time, I'm going to win. And that's historically what always happens. So fear has certainly got to people here. And, it's a time for calm, I think. But I often say I like the red days. It presents me opportunity to buy a great business at a discounted price because everybody's selling out. So the question is, do you still feel that Virgin Galactic is a great business? And because I know we're going to be running out of time shortly and everyone's eager. I've got a few questions from the members. I'll give that to you in a second. But what are you doing tomorrow morning? We've now got a potential reverse split. Stock price has been dipping it again. It's held up a little bit. It's 84 cents right now. I'll just put it on the screen. 84 cents. It didn't collapse. It did go down, but it didn't keep on going down. It kind of went sideways. It has been now for a sort of a day or so on Friday. Are you looking to buy this level now, 84 cents, or is it not low enough yet, or you steer clear?
I haven't decided. I'm on the fence. I think if I do buy, I'm probably going to do, $20,000-$30,000, which is a lot, but it's nothing like what I did before, as an exercise in just averaging down overall, because my average at the moment is probably more like $3.50, I think. So I'm on the fence. I do think it's a good bet, and I'm perfectly happy to be wrong in 6-12 months time, and we're sitting here mourning the death of it. But I currently think it's still a good bet, especially at this price. Nothing will help them weather the storm more than $850 million, which they'll have at the end of Q1, roughly. They've got $900 to $850 million. That most of that is in heavily interest-bearing notes, and so I have confidence still, believe it or not, based on how well resourced they currently are. I think they've got a burn of about $100 to $130 million a quarter. So they've got a while, right? So something has to go really wrong. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the share price at the moment is just kind of noise. If they can hang on and keep themselves listed, I'm completely unmoved by all this, really, completely. Like, what I care about is Boeing killing them in court, or I care about them killing customers, or I care about Delta going completely off course and taking twice the amount of time versus what they said. That's what I care about. I actually don't care about the share price right now. I don't care about the reverse split announcement at all. To me, it's noise. And as shareholders, I think we should probably hold our nerve. And I think we should see what the fundamentals of the business are doing in the next few months, given how much cash they have.
Fair enough. Mark Saxby, who's a large Virgin Galactic retail investor, would Andy consider another petition letter? I can't be the only one as a shares that hoped one day would pay for a flight. I'll bring it up again. I believe Virgin Galactic will lose thousands of potential customers. He's talking about a petition because he wants to be able to. In fact, there are two things that people are unhappy with. One, like 95% who I polled said get rid of Eric Kearney. They don't like him. That's that one. We'll leave that. We've discussed that to death. But the other question is, they're saying, and Mark's saying he wants a poll. He wants a petition so we can say if we are going to reverse split, we want a 2-for-1 rather than this 20-for-1 thing. But of course, we do have shareholders have that right. But isn't when we have the shareholder vote though? Isn't it done? You have sway by how many shares you have. So the Michael Cole-Glazier and the few directors, they have a bigger say than you or I do.
I'm not sure of the mechanics of it. I thought from the notice they put out that there was a kind of like 1 to 20 spread. I don't know if it was like a prescription for an exact amount of shares they were going to split by, but I'm no expert. I always say when I come on the show, I'm not a professional trader. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know the ins and outs, but yeah, I think my question to Mark, was it Mark Saxby?
Yes. Yeah.
My question back was going to be, what do we petition for? If it's just the mechanics of the reverse split, I personally wouldn't back myself to have a vote because I'm not astute enough with those instruments to know what is the best option. Well, it was a bit like Brexit. I kind of thought, no, please don't give us the vote, because I don't think and frankly most really understood all the mechanics at play there, and I feel the same.
Whether you understand it or not, what he's concerned about is the sentiment of this. He says, Andy, if the split happens, pushing the share price up, won't that encourage them to dilute again? Now, whether that's right or wrong, or they're going to or not, it's how the retail, and remember, this is a very much retail investor stock. If you've done the numbers, you know that anyway. Retailers are in this stock big time. If retailers think that we're about to get the price up to $3 or $4, let's just say, for example, and then or more, then they dilute. It's a shareholder who pays for that, and that's that benefits Virgin Galactic. The directors and the shareholders get stuffed. So they don't want to buy the stock right now. They're going to think, okay, I'll wait for the split and I'll wait for the dilution and then I'll buy the stock. Well, yeah.
But what's the alternative? Do we want to keep the share price low because we're worried that they might raise money? Like, if not that, then what?
Well, I think most people have said to me, and they've polled saying, we appreciate you have to reverse split to stay on the index. I mean, we can't be delisted and become a pink slip, the Wolf of Wall Street, all that malarkey. We can't be doing that. But at the end of the day, most retail investors, rightly or wrongly, maybe it's wrong, maybe Virgin Galactic and their wisdom know more than we do, and we don't know what we're talking about, right? But most people feel that if they just did a few flights, just maybe, the ship's sitting there, right? I'm assuming that the ship's sitting there and we could do a couple of flights. I know it's more difficult than that. There's all sorts of regulations and da-da-da-da-da. I'm sure it's not as simple as that, but wouldn't it make sense? They do have celebrities on their list, on their ticket list, to get them on the ship, get the price up, get something going on, rather than going, no, we're okay going to sleep, and we're okay with the stock price going down, we're okay with a reverse split, and then we're probably going to dilute as well. I mean, when you've bought in, and I bought in at $30 originally, and a lot of people did, it's a kind of a slap in the face too many. How many slaps do we get?
I have to, I don't want to make myself boycotted from your next shows by
that'll never happen.
Disagreeable. But I think I really don't see it as a slap in the face not doing flights, right? Like what does doing flights actually mean? Right? It means the cash burn goes up massively because restarting those operations is really expensive for them. And how they've managed to get their cash burn down is by stopping the flights. So you're getting cash burn up, which means you're raising the risk of running out of money earlier, which is not a good thing. You also increase the existential risk profiles of the company because if there's a crash on one of these flights, then you will risk the company going bust completely, right? As well as obviously the human loss. And thirdly, these flights that you're talking about, that your members want them to recommence, the upside is let's park the kind of Paris Hilton factor for a second. The upside in revenue terms is just not there. I mean, it's like absolutely nothing. It's just $5 million, $2 million. Well, I can't remember what it is. Nothing. So the revenue upside's not there. It raises all kinds of risks. So then all you're pinning your hopes on in campaigning for this is just like some Hail Mary chance that a celebrity goes on and it miraculously like transforms the share price. I think there are probably 5 celebrities on earth who could do that. I think probably Elon Musk, Taylor Swift, maybe like, I don't know, Messi or Ronaldo or something. I just think there are such a small number of celebrities. If you get someone like Bryan Adams, right, like someone really famous who's an A-lister, but he doesn't have that Taylor Swift quality, I don't think it's going to move the needle really. So
no, I agree.
It's a big gamble. You're risking a lot financially. You're risking a lot from a safety perspective. Like, it's just not worth it, I think. I think they're executing in the right way. I do share some of yours, so just so I'm not completely disagreeing with every word that you and the audience are saying. I have agreed, and I do agree with some of what you say around how they could have been more communicative with the world about what they're doing and their marketing. And that's partly what we said in our petition, and I've been really passionate about in the past. So you're preaching to the choir on that front. But when it comes to the way they're acting now as a management team, I personally don't have any issues. Okay,
fair enough. That's the purpose of this community. It gives everyone a voice, everyone has an opinion, and everyone can share it. That's that's what this is all about. I try to create an environment where we do question each other. That's the sense of what I'm doing. Can I ask if Andy if he would be happy to have his shares split by the highest amount of 1 for 20? Yes, the value does not change, but the potential earnings are significantly reduced. How do you feel?
Well, I wouldn't be thrilled. Yeah, like it's a really fair challenge. I wouldn't be over the moon. But I do consider myself a passenger right now. I don't understand. I would need a crash course in what all these variables do to potential earnings and to the share price. And like my experience of being an investor in companies which have a reverse split is exactly 0. So I need to kind of learn and upskill in order to have a really strong view on that, to be honest. But I get the basic principle that Mark is referring to. And no, I don't think I'd be thrilled about it.
No, exactly. Sensei, last question from my members. I know you got to go in a moment. Andy, let's say that they lose the lawsuit and pay 100 million. And let's be honest, Delta won't be completed on time. How long do we have before they have to make the decision to dilute and raise? Difficult to say, isn't it?
Well, yes and no, actually, because if you go on what Virgin have told us, let's just say for argument's sake that it's all true. They say they can get Delta in the air and get cash generative currently in 2020, late 26, right? So therefore, if you take 100 million out of the coffers, that's roughly, about, it only moves the needle by about a quarter, to be honest. So in other words, it robs them of 1 quarter's worth of cash. So you could pretty reliably say that if they had to spend 100 million, then they would have, late 2026 minus 1 quarter, basically.
Do you think macro conditions like what we've got going on now in I find it quite distasteful, actually. I've tried to be very conscious and aware of the messages I put out at the moment because of what's going on with the war. Other YouTubers don't seem to be quite so bothered. Meet Kevin, one of the largest YouTubers, called for World War III. World War III has already started, apparently. Got lots of views. Okay. Donald Trump said. Donald Trump put out a message on his official network the other day. I got this sent to me by a voter who receives his emails from his campaign company, whatever they call it, and it was Donald Trump said the United States will be obliterated from Earth within 48 hours. That was about 4 days ago when the war started. Clearly, America, I'm still here. So a lot of people like creating some pretty sensationalistic news and, the end of the world's going to come, and it hasn't. But there you go. That's how people get their kicks and sell their videos and whatever they want to do. But a lot of people are concerned about the war. Obviously, it's most importantly for the people that are directly involved, who facing down the barrel of the guns and the missiles. I'm most concerned for. But humans and the stock market has been through these situations: World War I, World War II, and all the other things, depressions and dot-com crashes and all the rest of it. Are you overly concerned about the macro conditions in the stock market in Virgin Galactic, or it's just part of life and we just get on with it?
Well, Virgin Galactic is and has always been more sensitive to the macro changes than other more established companies. So it is concerning. I'm not quite at the Donald Trump level of concern that the world is about to end, but frankly, I don't think he would know the truth if it hit him in the orange face. So I'm not. I'm not adversely concerned. I mean, Israel has been sort of finessing the difficult balance of kind of creating World War III in the Middle East and containing their conflict for the last 50 years. So one hopes that they are, capable of restraint and not allowing it to escalate too terribly. We could be speaking any time in the last kind of 10 years, and probably there would have been a reason to be really concerned about World War III breaking out, whether it's Crimea a few years ago or the more recent war in Ukraine that's still ongoing, or whether it's the Middle East, or Afghanistan, or there's always something going on. I feel always concerned, but not adversely concerned.
Do you know what, Andy? I see it as, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to anyone in a war. I see it as, because we've got to be blunt, we're investors. Okay, we've got we are human. We are sensitive to wars and deaths and illness and all these things. That's a separate thing. But we're here today as an investor, trying to make money for our future pensions and support our families. Right? I see it as an opportunity, and more billionaires and millionaires are created during wartime than any other time. And I've said it for 3 years. There's been many times when I've talked about this particular point. I don't think there'll ever be a World War III. because there wasn't really a World War I and World War II. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a conspiracy theorist who said there was never a war or the world is flat or anything else like that. What I mean by that is, in World War I and World War II, and I've studied my history a lot, the whole world was not at war. It gives it a title. We like to put titles on things. Not every single person, and I've traveled the whole world and asked people of all generations, many older people in different countries say, I didn't even know, well, not I didn't know there was a war going on, but they never experienced it. In their little village, nothing changed for them. And many people around the world would have experienced that. Many people in England, there's been films made about people in certain villages in Cornwall and Devon living by the seaside. They never saw the war. They never felt the war. Nothing changed. So the World War doesn't mean every single person is fighting every single person and everyone's running around with a gun and it's terrifying to go out your front door. For a lot of people it is, but for not everybody. And the difference is, when we had World War I and World War II, we had a very, very different economy. And Adolf Hitler could wake up one day and say, I'm going to take control of a certain area, and he could. Whereas today, we all rely on each other. There's absolutely no sense whatsoever China wiping out America and America wiping out China, because China make all the parts we put in our iPhones, and all our iPhones we send back to them, or whatever way around it goes. But we all rely on each other. So there's absolutely no sense in anyone taking out the other. Whereas years ago, you could have independent economies, different, it was like having different worlds within the same world. But I feel today that we're all connected together, and you pull the plug and to divide us, and we're all doomed. So there's absolutely no sense in blowing up your customers and blowing up your supply chain. Yes, we do a little bit. We go into the Suez Canal, we go into all the Red Sea. We do all these things, and we have a little pop at certain things and blow up a few oil pipelines in the process. But we don't take out the entire system. And I feel very confident in that you know, human beings will always behave when it comes down to it selfishly for their own ends. I try my very best to do this for the people, and I believe I do. But so I'm not trying to like make myself a saint or anything, but I'm doing my best. But I think generally speaking, people do what's best for them. And I don't think in this modern world that we live in today, it's right for anyone to want to blow everybody up, because it doesn't help them. So I think when we see these situations like this, it presents opportunity to buy good companies. Maybe not high risk companies with loads of debt, like you say. Virgin Galactic is very speculative and risky, but solid companies, you know, like the S&P 500 as an ETF, or Amazon, or whoever it might be. I think they're going to be around, and we don't have any problems at all. But I don't think we've got any more than 50 countries were involved and 100 million soldiers were deployed, Sensei. Yeah, but how many people in the world? Is it 5 billion? You know, again, you know, makes my point. You know, is it 5 billion, Andy? 8 billion? I don't know.
It's now, I think, 6 or 7 billion. But back then, in 1939, it was probably a lot less, and certainly a lot less in 1914.
Yeah, but still not close to everybody, right?
I think you're right, but it was obviously just the colloquial term for it. But one thing I would just flag, I mean, I don't want to get above my pay grade here talking about the history of conflict, but one thing I'd flag is, you're right insofar as it wouldn't be sensible and it wouldn't be reasonable. But we have to remember that sometimes lunatics get lots of power. And it obviously happened in Germany in the late 30s, and you could argue it's happening in other countries around the world right now, very powerful countries. So we probably have to make an allowance and suspend, you know, logic and reason when we have somebody who is just a crazy, ideologue and who wants to just destroy rather than build and build bridges with other countries. So, yeah, I think it's good and positive that you're feeling really confident. But on the other hand, just don't forget the lunatic factor.
No, you're absolutely right. An accident can happen anytime. We saw how close it got in Ukraine when they were bombing near that nuclear plant, and people were saying, you know, 1 inch to the right and we've got a major catastrophe in Europe. No, I agree. If someone gets hold of the wrong bomb and sends it the wrong direction, we're in trouble. But there's no point point being negative. You've got to be positive and always move forward and work hard and stick to your plan. Don't sell out. Don't give up. I'm not saying anyone should hold on to their Virgin Galactic shares. I don't give financial advice, but through history, if you read the books, the people that stay the course, who keep buying the great companies, who buy the dips, always stay in, tend to win. Andy, I know you've got to go. Everyone's saying thank you to you. Mark Saxby, thank you, Andy. Hope to see you on this channel again real soon. Thank you, Martyn, for arranging this so early on Sunday morning. Andy, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Martyn. Thanks a lot to your members. Speak soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye. So there you go. Andy Shovel this morning talking to us on a Sunday morning. Is he going to buy Virgin Galactic in the morning? Well, as you heard him say, he is looking at it, considering it. He hasn't made a decision yet. So I'd love to have told you one way or the other, but there it is. Andy is looking at it. He's still in, and he doesn't feel he doesn't feel that negative really about it. He's okay with it. He's not happy. Nobody's happy, but he's not overly concerned as well. So there you go. Now then, just stay with me as I end this video out, and I've got a special announcement for you. So thank you for joining me. This was a members special, always bringing extra content to the members. This is a members live stream. It will be available soon as a members only video, and it will be available to the general public at the opening bell tomorrow morning. There you go. Best service for the members, right? So click above my head, down below in the description, over here and over here. And we hope you enjoyed this special event. Till next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.